On a busy corner along the Lagos mainland, tucked between a fuel station and an electronics shop, stood the couple's place, a small restaurant that had somehow become the city's biggest sensation. The owners, Mr. and Mrs. Adam, were known everywhere. Their pepper soup was legendary, their grilled meat unmatched, and their customer service warm enough to melt even a Lagosian's stress away. Taxi drivers stopped there after long shifts. Office workers came during lunch breaks. Even influencers filmed short clips outside, praising their authentic Naija taste. The couple never paid for adverts, they didn't need to. Word of mouth carried their name faster than any billboard. People loved them, especially Mr. Adam, always smiling behind the counter, sweat dripping as he flipped meat over the grill. His wife, fondly called Madam Adam, was soft-spoken but commanding. She handled the cash register with precision and treated every customer like family. Together, they embodied success, a perfect union that Lagos newspapers once described as love served hot. They lived just a few streets away, in a modest flat above a provision store. Their teenage daughter, Tina, often helped with serving customers. She was quiet, polite, and proud of her parents' reputation. But lately, she'd begun to notice things that didn't make sense. Some nights, her parents would leave home after midnight and return just before dawn. When she asked where they went, her father would smile and say, "To meet suppliers, my dear. Lagos runs on night business." Still, Tina wondered why no one ever saw these suppliers. No trucks, no deliveries, just her parents' tired faces and that same heavy smell on their clothes. It wasn't the usual aroma of grilled meat. It was sharper. Metallic. Everyone in Lagos said the couple's place had a secret recipe. Tina was starting to believe they were right, but not in the way people thought. To the people of Lagos mainland, the Adams were more than restaurant owners, they were a symbol of what hard work could achieve. Mr. Adam, with his easy laugh and smooth Yoruba-accented English, was everyone's chairman. He gave free drinks to drivers on hot days and always had a friendly joke for regulars. His wife, graceful and meticulous, kept the restaurant spotless and ran the books like a professional accountant. They never argued in public, never showed stress, and always looked happy. To their neighbors, they were the ideal couple, the kind that prayed together, worked together, and succeeded together. At home, though, Tina began to notice a shift. The warmth her parents showed customers didn't always extend to each other. Their laughter had grown thinner, more forced. Late at night, she would hear them whispering in the living room, their voices low but urgent. Sometimes, the whispering turned into murmurs of disagreement. "People are asking too many questions," her mother said one night. "They won't find anything," her father replied sharply. "Not if we stay careful." Tina thought she misheard, but the unease stayed with her. One afternoon, she entered her father's office at the back of the restaurant to drop off a tray. On his desk sat a small metal keychain holding about 10 keys, one of them newer and shinier than the rest. When she asked what it was for, Mr. Adams smiled quickly, slipping it into his pocket. "Just kitchen storage, nothing serious," he said. That night, she noticed him lock a small door near the back freezer, a door she had never seen open before. The next morning, she found him scrubbing the same spot outside the kitchen, over and over, until the concrete gleamed wet and dark. He said some palm oil had spilled. But when Tina leaned closer, the faint smell that rose wasn't oil. It was metallic, sharp and unpleasant. She said nothing. But from that day, her father's smile no longer comforted her. It made her wonder what kind of man could hide so much behind it. Every Lagosian knew the scent of the couple's place before they even reached the building. It floated down the street, roasted meat, pepper soup, smoky charcoal, a mix that made people hungry just by breathing it in. Customers joked that if hunger had a smell, this was it. But Tina had begun to notice a different scent, one that didn't belong. It was faint during the day, masked by the aroma of spice and smoke, but at night, when the burners went off and silence filled the restaurant, the smell lingered, thick, metallic, and sour. It clung to her father's apron. It soaked into the back storage room where only her parents were allowed. And it followed them home, hidden beneath the scent of pepper and onions. One evening, after closing, Tina stayed behind to help clean. Her mother had gone to count the day's earnings, leaving her father to handle the kitchen. As she mopped near the back door, she saw him dragging a black plastic bag across the floor. It was large, heavy, and dripping slightly. "Daddy, what's that?" she asked. "Just meat, my dear. For tomorrow's menu." He smiled, but didn't meet her eyes. When he left, she walked closer to the door. A drop of dark liquid had fallen to the floor, not oil, not soup. It was thicker. Red. The next day, she asked her mother where their meat came from. "From the abattoir in UCHE," her mother said quickly. "Why?" Tina nodded, pretending to believe her. But she had seen the abattoir truck before. It delivered in the mornings, in daylight, with men shouting and offloading loudly. Her parents' supplies came quietly, after midnight, in plain vans with covered windows. That night, she lay awake as the sound of an engine hummed outside their flat. She peeked through the curtain and saw her father and mother unloading 2 large sacks. They struggled under the weight, whispering hurriedly. When one sack tore slightly, something pale showed through before her father quickly tied it up again. And in that split second, Tina stopped believing the lie. Whatever was inside those sacks, it wasn't goat meat. In early March, Lagos mainland began buzzing with unsettling news. Posters of missing schoolchildren started appearing on street poles, bus stops, and market walls. The faces were all too similar, young, bright-eyed students who had vanished on their way home from school. Parents cried on television, community leaders blamed the police, and yet, the disappearances continued. Life in Lagos rarely stopped for tragedy. People still went to work, still laughed, still queued for fuel and fought traffic. And through it all, the couple's place remained as busy as ever, even busier. It was as if people chose comfort in food to forget the fear. One evening, while helping her mother wipe tables, Tina noticed something strange. A man walked in wearing a t-shirt printed with one of the missing children's faces, a boy named Daniel. He sat quietly, ordered grilled meat and plantain, and mentioned how the police had no leads. "They said the boy disappeared near Oshodi Bridge," he sighed. "Such a pity." Tina froze. Just a week earlier, her father had returned home with a torn school backpack that looked eerily familiar. When she'd asked about it, he'd said a customer had forgotten it. But when she checked inside, it was empty, except for a name tag, Daniel A. That night, the smell in the back room was stronger than ever. The air felt thick, damp. Her mother had locked the freezer room, warning her not to go near where adults are working. But when Tina passed the door, she heard a faint metallic clank, like chains tapping against the wall, followed by something else. A muffled sound. A cry. She stepped back, heart pounding, before her father's voice broke the silence. "Tina. What are you doing there?" He stood at the end of the corridor, smiling. "Too calm, too slow. Go and sleep, my dear," he said softly. "Tomorrow will be a long day." That night, she lay in bed listening to the faint hum of the restaurant's generator, trying to convince herself it was just her imagination. But deep down, she knew that somewhere inside that kitchen, a child was crying for help. The restaurant had always seemed like a second home to Tina. She knew every table, every creaky floorboard, every spice jar in the kitchen. But there was one door she had never been allowed to open, a small, steel one at the back of the kitchen, right beside the freezer. Her father called at the store. No one had ever seen what was inside. On a humid Thursday night, the restaurant closed later than usual. Customers lingered, laughing over bottles of malt while the staff cleaned up. By midnight, everyone had gone except Tina and her parents. Her mother was in the front office, counting cash. Her father was checking inventory. Tina was mopping near the freezer when she noticed the key ring on the counter, the same ring her father guarded so closely. For the first time, he had left it unattended. Her hand trembled as she picked it up. Each key was labeled with masking tape: front gate, freezer, storage, power room. Only one had no label. The unlabeled one fit the steel door perfectly. She turned it slowly. The metal hinges groaned. A damp, earthy smell rushed out, strong enough to make her gag. She flicked on her phone's torch and pointed it downward. A staircase. Concrete. Dark. For a few seconds she just stood there, frozen, until she heard something faint, a soft whimper, like a child crying from far below. Her pulse raced. She took one cautious step down, then another. Her phone light caught something on the wall, deep scratch marks, as if someone had tried to climb out. Then, the unmistakable sound of a chain dragging across the floor. Her phone slipped from her shaking hand and hit the stairs with a dull thud. The light spun wildly, catching a glimpse of something on the ground, a shoe. A small, blood-stained school shoe. Tina. Her father's voice thundered behind her. He was standing at the top of the stairs, his face half in shadow, eyes glinting. "What are you doing down there?" He said it softly, too softly, and stepped forward, closing the door behind him. For 2 days after that night, Tina didn't speak a word about what she saw. Her father had caught her at the basement entrance, staring into the darkness, and his reaction had terrified her more than the sight itself. He didn't shout or hit her. He simply smiled, locked the door, and said, "That place is dangerous. Don't ever go there again." But the way he said it, too calm, too measured, made her certain he was hiding something. The next morning, the restaurant opened as usual. Her parents laughed with customers, served food, and joked as if nothing had happened. Tina watched them closely. The way her father sliced meat, precise and methodical. The way her mother stirred the pepper soup pot, humming softly. Their faces looked peaceful, but every move they made now looked rehearsed, practiced over years of deceit. That afternoon, when her mother stepped out to buy gas, Tina crept into the office behind the restaurant. The air smelled of cleaning agents and smoke. She rummaged through drawers until she found a brown leather ledger, tucked under a pile of receipts. Inside were pages filled with names. Each page had a date, a note, and a single word scribbled in red ink: processed. The handwriting was her father's. At first, she didn't understand. But when she reached the back pages, her heart stopped. Some of the names matched the missing children she'd seen on posters: Daniel A., Femi O., Blessing E., all marked with the same red word. Her fingers shook as she flipped faster. The most recent entry was from just 2 days ago. The name written there was one she recognized instantly: Chika A., age 12. That was the girl who lived across the street. She had gone missing last week. Tina took photos of the ledger with her phone, her hands trembling so hard she nearly dropped it. Then she noticed another file on the shelf, a small flash drive labeled recipes. She pocketed it and hurried out, nearly bumping into her father at the doorway. He smiled gently. "You've been busy, eh?" Her throat tightened. "Just cleaning, Daddy." He nodded, but his eyes lingered on her pocket for a second too long. That evening, Tina backed up the photos and the files on her phone. She didn't know who to trust yet, but she knew one thing for certain. Whatever her parents were cooking, it wasn't food meant for human plates. That night, Tina couldn't sleep. The sound of the ceiling fan hummed above her, but her mind was louder, echoing with the names she'd seen in that ledger. The images of the missing children's faces floated in her head, mixing with the metallic smell that always clung to her father's clothes. She had proof now. The photos, the flash drive, it was all there. But proof meant nothing if she couldn't survive long enough to show it. Her parents had gone to the restaurant again, saying they needed to prepare early for tomorrow. It was almost midnight. The perfect time to act. With shaking hands, Tina picked up her phone and dialed 112, the Lagos emergency number. The line rang twice before a tired male voice answered. Lagos State Command, what's your emergency? She swallowed hard. Please, sir, my parents are doing something terrible. They own the couple's place at Ojodu. She hesitated. They're killing people. The line went silent for a few seconds. Then, the officer asked, killing? You mean ritual killing? I don't know, she said quickly. But I saw something. Children. In the basement. He told her to stay calm and asked for her address. She gave it. He promised to send a patrol team. But as soon as she ended the call, she heard something downstairs, the sound of a key turning in the door. Her parents were back. Panicked, she deleted her call history and hid her phone under her pillow. Moments later, her mother knocked gently. Tina, you're still awake? Yes, Ma. Her voice trembled. Good. Come downstairs. Your father wants to talk to you. Her heart stopped. She could hear them whispering as she opened the door, voices too soft to catch, but heavy with suspicion. Downstairs, her father sat on the couch, his eyes fixed on her like a man studying a stranger. Someone called the police tonight, he said quietly. They say it came from this address. Tina's stomach turned cold. Her mother's expression was unreadable. Do you know anything about that, my dear? She asked softly, stepping closer. Outside, a dog barked once, then silence. The air grew still. And for the first time in her life, Tina felt certain that if she said the wrong thing, she would never see the morning again. The knock on the door came just after 2 a.m., firm, heavy, unmistakable. For a moment, no one in the house moved. Then came another round, louder this time. Open up. Police. Tina's heart leapt. She hadn't expected them to come so quickly. Her father glanced at her, eyes sharp and calculating. Without a word, he motioned to his wife. Mrs. Adam turned off the lights, plunging the sitting room into shadow. Through the window, blue lights flickered against the compound wall. Who's there? Her father called, his voice steady. Lagos State Police Command. Open the door. He hesitated, then forced a smile. Ah, officers. Give me 1 minute. But Tina saw what he did next. He moved toward the backyard, whispering to his wife in hurried Yoruba. She couldn't catch every word, but one phrase froze her blood, get rid of it. Her mother rushed toward the kitchen. Tina followed quietly, peeking from behind the doorframe. Mrs. Adam opened the basement door and began dragging something heavy down the steps. The sound of metal clinking echoed faintly from below. The police were now banging harder. Mr. Adam, open this door or we'll break it. Her father finally unlocked it, smiling as if nothing were wrong. Good evening, officers. What's the problem? 4 policemen entered. Their flashlights cut through the darkness, sweeping across the room. One of them, a senior officer, looked at Tina, pale, shaking, and then at the locked basement door. Open it, he ordered. Her father's smile faltered. Officer, that's just storage. Nothing there. The officer stepped closer. Then open it. Before Mr. Adam could answer, the man forced the key from his hand and kicked the door open. The metallic stench that burst out silenced everyone. The flashlight beam caught the outline of a table, and something lying across it. The room was filled with the chilling silence of realization. Mrs. Adams screamed as another officer grabbed her. Her husband tried to run, but 2 policemen tackled him before he reached the gate. Tina stood in the corner, frozen, as the officers led her parents away in handcuffs. Her mother's head turned toward her one last time. You did this, she hissed. You ruined everything. Outside, as the sirens faded into the night, Tina realized the truth. The people who had fed Lagos with laughter and love had been feeding it with something far darker all along. By morning, the story had spread across Lagos like wildfire. Radio stations couldn't stop talking about the couple's place. Television crews gathered outside the restaurant gates, recording every angle of the arrest. Headlines screamed, "Popular Lagos couple arrested for human meat scandal." Crowds gathered, some in disbelief, others demanding justice. People who had once praised the Adems now spoke their names with disgust. "I used to eat there every Sunday," one woman cried into a reporter's microphone. "God forbid. What have we been eating?" The police sealed off the restaurant with yellow tape. Officers carried out crates, evidence bags, and a large metallic table from the basement. No one dared to look too closely, but the rumors spread fast, about what was found, about how long it had been happening, about how many people had gone missing. Tina sat in the back of a police van, wrapped in a blanket. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She watched as her parents were driven away in separate cars. Her father kept his head bowed, but her mother's gaze found her again through the tinted glass. No words, no shouting, just a cold, empty stare. At the station, detectives questioned Tina for hours. She showed them the ledger, the photos, the flash drive. The officers were stunned by her courage, a 17-year-old girl exposing her own family. Days later, the police confirmed what the town had begun to whisper: the Adems had been abducting schoolchildren from nearby areas for nearly 3 years. The victims' remains were found mixed with animal meat and stored in the restaurant's freezer. Tina became a reluctant hero, the girl who uncovered one of Lagos' darkest secrets. Journalists wanted interviews, NGOs wanted her story. But she refused. She moved in with her aunt in Ikeja and avoided the news. At night, she still heard the echoes, the clang of chains, the hum of the freezer, the soft cry from the basement. Sleep didn't come easily anymore. One evening, her aunt switched on the television. A news anchor was reporting that the couple's place had been auctioned to new owners. They planned to reopen it under a new name, Taste of Love. Tina dropped her spoon and stared at the screen. For a moment, she swore she could smell that same metallic scent again, faint, but real. Months passed, but Lagos never forgot the couple's place. The story became a warning parents told their children, about greed, evil, and the dangers that hide behind smiling faces. Taxi drivers still pointed at the old building whenever they drove by, shaking their heads. "Nah, hear those wicked people cook human meat," they would mutter. "May God punish them." The restaurant remained sealed for half a year, its signboard faded under the sun. But as with everything in Lagos, time moved on. Another investor bought the property, repainted the walls, and changed the name. The new signboard read The Family Kitchen. People were hesitant at first, but curiosity soon overcame fear. The aroma of grilled meat returned to the street, spicy, smoky, mouth-watering. Influencers came back. Life resumed. Tina, now living quietly with her aunt in Ikeja, watched it all from afar. She refused interviews and ignored messages from reporters who still wanted her story. Her parents' trial was ongoing, both faced life imprisonment. She hadn't visited them once. But some nights, when the power went out and the street grew silent, she could still hear her mother's voice in her head. "You ruined everything." One evening, she passed a street vendor selling suya. The smell, that same familiar aroma, drifted through the air. It hit her so hard she froze. For a moment, the world tilted, and she was back in that basement, the iron stench filling her lungs. The vendor smiled. "Madam, you go like try small?" he asked. Tina forced a smile and shook her head. "No, thank you." She turned away, heart pounding. Later that night, scrolling through her phone, she saw an advert on social media. A short video, well-lit, cheerful, an influencer laughing in front of the family kitchen. The caption read, "Same old taste. Even better." Her hands went cold. She stared at the screen until her reflection blurred. Because deep down, she knew that taste couldn't be duplicated by accident. Some recipes don't die. They only change hands.